GB News can exclusively reveal that more than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally so far this year. The milestone was reached this morning as hundreds more made the journey in small boats from France. It's after 526 people arrived illegally in UK waters in 8 dinghies yesterday.
More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally so far this year. And the grim milestone was reached this morning as hundreds more made the journey in small boats from the coast of France. And meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer has promised to work alongside Germany to smash the smuggler gangs that perpetrate this trade. Now, to break the story down is our Homeland Security editor, Mark White. Mark, welcome to the show. A grim tally, 20,000 since the start of the year. That's a town the size of Buxton. And we've had an astonishing day today, Mark White. What are the latest figures?
Well, it just shows us, doesn't it, Martin, that every time the sea conditions calm in the Channel, then the migrants come across in very significant numbers, despite what any politician in any government has done since 2018. None of them have been able to make any meaningful impact on this trade. And so Keir Starmer and his Labour government are finding out that harsh reality just months into the job, with very significant numbers still continuing to come across. 613 so far today, this morning, throughout mid-morning and into the afternoon. And we're told by our producer down in Kent that there is the possibility of more boats trying to make it on high tide this evening, and that comes on top of 526 migrants who came across on 8 small boats yesterday. More than 20,000 for the year so far, almost 7,000 since Labour came to power. Of course, what has Sir Keir Starmer promised to do? Well, he's promised to smash the gangs. He's scrapped the Rwanda deterrent scheme, which by now, according to the previous government, would have seen flights taking off for the East African nation. And we would have been able to see by now whether that was the deterrent that the Conservative government thought it would be. That no longer is going to happen because it's been scrapped. And today in Berlin, Sir Keir Starmer doubled down on that decision to scrap the Rwanda scheme. This is what he told a news conference.
I have long said before the election that I thought the Rwanda scheme was a gimmick, which is why we stood it down immediately. But nonetheless, it is very important that we take back control of our borders. I have long been convinced that the best way, the most effective way to do that is to take down the gangs that are running the vile trade of putting people in dangerous situations across Europe and across the Channel. And I said before the election that I would invest political capital in making sure we could work more effectively with our partners in taking down those gangs. And that's why I'm very pleased today that we've had a substantive discussion, agreed to a joint action plan, and that will, as you would expect, deal with issues like data sharing, intelligence sharing, what we can do on joint operations, because that is the way to take effective action in relation to the vile trade that sits beneath irregular migration across Europe, and in particular sits beneath the vile trade of putting people into small boats across the Channel.
You know, the harsh reality is, whatever Keir Starmer says in terms of his tough rhetoric on the people smugglers, it's going to take some considerable time to get all his ducks in a row to be able to go after these people smugglers in any meaningful way. They haven't even, as far as the National Crime Agency is concerned, recruited the additional 100 investigators. They're just embarking on that process now. This is a multinational, sophisticated criminal enterprise. Dismantling these organised crime groups will be extremely difficult.
Mark White, excellent coverage on a very, very busy day across the English Channel. Thank you very much for joining us on GB News. And joining me now is the international human rights lawyer and great friend of the show, David Haigh. David, welcome to the show. A grim milestone past 20,000 this year. A town the size of Buxton, 7,000 since the Labour Party came into power. Are you hearing anything coming out of this government that you believe will stem this tide any time soon? Smashing the gangs seems like quite a slow and laborious process.
Good afternoon, Martin. I think, I'd agree with a lot of what Mark White said. I mean, Britain effectively needs to brace itself. These numbers are going to get a lot worse before they even start getting better. And, as he said, the recruiting of these extra officers, and that's if that works, if this new border force that they've discussed will actually have any effect, that hasn't really started yet. It's not going to be in place for a long time. So these are things that are, there's no quick fix. They're medium to long-term projects. And so there's a lot more pain in terms of, the numbers going up, coming over and nothing seemingly being done for quite a while.
And David, in terms of the personnel numbers, 100 extra officers, but the greatest war in the world, this feels like pea shooters against tanks. We're facing thousands and thousands coming across the channel. 100 people. David, I've been to bigger barbecues.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's an insignificant number. And similarly, you also need to see significant investment in the processing of these claims. More people, better quality people and better quality processing and make it faster. But all of that takes time. And, at the end of the day, we can't blame the Conservative government for everything in terms of where we are with the illegal immigration at the moment. But certainly there's been a conveyor belt of their negligence that's put us in this situation. But there does need to be medium to long term fixes. And that means more bad numbers, probably, I think, for years to come.
And David Haigh, we've seen today, Sir Keir Starmer in Berlin with the Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He's now in Paris with Emmanuel Macron. The numbers of illegal immigrants entering Germany, over 2 million in the 9 years between 2012 and 2023. They can't control their own borders. We pay the French £500 million every year. They can't stop people leaving the beaches. David Haigh, is there anything you're hearing from this pan-European loving that's going to give you confidence that any time soon an integrated European network will in any way reduce these numbers any time soon come into Britain?
I mean, the short answer to that is not at the moment. I mean, this is a Europe-wide problem, if not a global one. And there's an awful lot that needs to be done. And that all takes a lot of time. And there needs to be some very difficult and serious conversations, I think, looking at the types of human rights and what we protect and what is an asylum seeker and what isn't. And those are conversations which I don't think the current people in charge of Europe want to have. But until you start looking at that, I don't think you're going to see significant changes yet.
And David, may I ask you quickly, if I could, the previous government, Rishi Sunak's government, was very much derailed by human rights lawyers, particularly around Rwanda. If the Labour Party start getting tough, they talk about 14,500 deportations before the end of the year. I think if that happens, you must believe in Santa. But on a serious point, do you think that the same people that tried to stop the Conservative Party may come back to try and halt the Labour Party?
Well, absolutely. I think, if there's the same potential breaches of human rights, the genuine ones, and obviously, as we all know, there's some people out there that will help people that are not genuine. We've all seen those stories. So I think you're going to see that. One thing that I've picked up on is that certainly in the recent weeks, because of perhaps the pressure on all the numbers, you're seeing genuine asylum seekers that are genuinely here, genuinely need asylum. You're seeing them get denied, I think, more and more. And that's a worrying status as well, I think.
OK, David Haigh, it's always a delight to have you on the show. It's been too long. Let's hope we speak again soon. Now, there's loads more still to come between now and